Welcome back to Money School. I'm Mike Frost here at Mach 1, and Money Schools are things you always want to know about money, but didn't know who or where to ask. We're here, the last session, end of life decisions. So, how have you liked these? Did you go through all 10 of the previous sessions? If not, I highly recommend you go back and start number 1 and work your way through. If you'll do that, you will be in the top 10% of Americans that know information about money. This is information we provided free of charge just to help you, the consumer, about money issues, things that just don't know where to go ask about or who to ask. Well, they're all right here. And we're going to end up where we're all going to end up, end of life decisions. All right, so we could do a quick review of these, but I'd encourage you to go back and watch every single session. And if you say, Mike, I only have time for a few, watch the first 5. The first 5 will get you hooked and you'll want to watch the rest of them. All right, enough of that. End of life decisions. Last class, class 11. Here we go. None of us are going to live forever. None of us. So you might as well go ahead and plan for it. It's going to happen. You don't know anybody that's lived forever, nor do I. Okay? You can make your passing much less stressful for your family members. Planning, communication are simply the key. Just plan it out. It's going to happen, you might as well. And once you get it planned, share those plans with your loved ones. Okay, Mike, I get it. Do it. So what I got to do? Well, here's some things you should think about. Do you need long-term care insurance? Do you need life insurance? For some people, the answer is no. Well, Mike, don't we all need that? No. Comes a point in time you're self-funded and you don't need either of these. And there is also a time where your assets may not be sufficient enough, you would need long-term care insurance. But if you're like, well, how do I know that? Well, give us a call here. We'll go through a whole analysis and we'll let you know. Do you need life insurance? Do you need long-term care insurance? And we'll quantify those numbers. Do you have health directives? You go to the hospital today and you can't make decisions for yourself. Do you have a piece of paper that says, this is what I want or what I don't want? That's your health directives. How about power of attorney? Power of attorney is simply this. It gives someone else the legal ability to do whatever you can do as long as you're still alive. For instance, my dad came to live with us his last 6 months of life. We didn't know that at the time, but it ended up being that way. And I was his power of attorney. I could sign checks as if I was him. I could buy things as if I was him. And I could sell things. Whatever he could do, I legally could do for him. That's what a power of attorney is. Okay? There's a couple of different types, but that's the general view. Do you have a will or a trust? Do you need a trust? Maybe, maybe not. But if you're over 18, you need at least a will. If you die without a will or a trust, it's called dying intestate, meaning some judge is going to figure out your stuff and who gets it. Well, don't you want to decide that? Very simple will, or if you complicated case, you might need a trust. But get it done. Don't put it off. Funeral arrangements. What do you want to happen? Do you want a big funeral? Do you want to be buried? Do you want to be cremated? What do you want done with your remains? If you have assets, checking account, savings account, investment accounts, IRAs, 401ks, do you have beneficiaries on each of those assets? Did you know if you had beneficiaries listed on those assets and you had a will that said something different, the beneficiaries take precedence over your will? We see this fairly often where there may be a divorce and on a 401k plan, the ex-spouse is left on there, never changed. And when that spouse dies, the ex-spouse still gets the 401k because it's still on there and it takes precedence over the will or the trust. So make sure you keep those updated. Do you have a love drawer? That's not what you think. A love drawer is where you've taken the time, you've sat down and you've listed every asset you have, life insurance, investment accounts, IRAs, you name it, everything that you own, you listed it out. You put account numbers beside it. You put phone numbers beside it. And if something happens to you, people can contact that company or whatever that says, these are my assets, you need to do something with them. You realize if you die or when you die and you have a life insurance policy, if you never let the life insurance company know that you've passed away or your heirs don't let them know, they're not sending the money. You have to contact them, send in the death certificate, and then they send the beneficiary the proceeds. So a love drawer just simply lists everything out that you have, all the account numbers, how to contact them when you pass away. Another example, my mom passed away suddenly, heart attack. Okay. Months later, we're digging through things and we find her family Bible. And inside there is a stock certificate for the Peabody Hotel. We thought we hit the jackpot. Well, after we did the research, it was worth about 75 cents. But who would have known? We wouldn't have known. But if you had that list of all assets and how to contact them, that would have made it easy. So do that for your loved one. We call it the love drawer. It helps your heirs when you pass away. And then once you get all this stuff set up, have a family meeting to tell them about it. It doesn't do any good to have a love drawer. Nobody knows where to find it. So do all your planning, get all your information together, and then sit down with your loved ones and communicate what it is you've already set up. And then when the time comes, they are so less stressed. My mom passed away, and 2 hours later, we're picking out her casket. My father-in-law passed away the exact same year. He had things planned out, and come to find out, his funeral, almost identical to my mother's, cost twice as much. I'm sorry. His cost half as much as my mother's because he pre-planned his. We didn't get a chance to pre-plan my mother's. So there's another reason for you to go ahead and get the plans in place. All right. So do you need a will or a trust? Well, absolutely you need a will. Okay. If you've got young kids at home and you need someone to create a trustee or someone to take care of them in case you die before they're 18, then you might need a trust. See an attorney, they can help you with that. Now, in the state of Arkansas, you can do something called a TOD. Anything with a title on it. A car, a trailer, a camper. You can do a transfer on death on that. Meaning, if I wanted to put my son on there, I'd take the title down and said, my son's name as a TOD, transfer on death. He has no rights to that property while I'm alive. But as soon as I pass, he can take the title, death certificate, down to the revenue office and say, hey, Dad's gone, take his name off. That particular piece of property becomes his. Now for a house, it's a little bit different. It's called a beneficiary deed. Same process. You go down to the courthouse, you put another person's name on there as a beneficiary. They have no claims to it while you're alive. Soon as you pass away, they take it to the courthouse with a death certificate. Your name comes off, their name goes on. No probate, no judges, no nothing. It's their property. Very slick, very clean. You can do that. Make sure your beneficiaries are up to date on all the 401ks and things like that. Very important because of the Secure Act. The Secure Act now has some provisions in it where if you leave it to anyone other than a spouse, they only have 10 years to take the money out. So there's a lot of implications there. So just make sure your beneficiaries are up to date. When you come visit us as a review, we go over your beneficiaries. So if you want to make a change, you can change them at any time. Okay? If you have a tax-deferred account, an IRA, a 401k, things you've not paid taxes on, be very careful if you decide to leave that particular asset to a trust. You may incur immediate taxes upon your death, which would be at a higher rate than if you left it to an individual. So we like to see IRAs, 401ks, those kind of tax-deferred plans be left to individuals, not trust, for tax purposes. And this thing called per stirpes or per capita, it's not stirrups, okay? Stirpes. So here's a very simple explanation. If your beneficiaries are listed as per capita and you have 4 beneficiaries, If one of those beneficiaries predeceases you, then your assets don't go to 4 people, it'll go to 3. Okay? But what if you wanted that 4th person's family to get that share? Well, that's called per stirpes. It goes down the family line. Most people don't consider this. They just do per capita, and then if somebody predeceases them, then that share goes to the other 3. Well, that might not be what you want. So make sure you ask that when you're doing your beneficiaries. Per stirpes, per capita. Stirpes goes down the family line, per capita just whoever's left. And how large is your estate going to be? Under current law, each person can leave about over $11 million and incur no estate tax. Well, there's a lot of talk going on right now to lower that number from 11 million down to 3.5 million. It's going to drop to about 5 million in 2026. So if it looks like your estate's going to be above that, you might want to do some things now, some estate planning now, to prevent a 40% estate tax on anything above that number. Okay? The durable power of attorney, again, we talk about powers of attorney. It allows me to do whatever you could do if I'm your power of attorney. Well, if you're dead, you can't do anything, and therefore the power of attorney ceases at death. That's something most people don't know. Your living will, your health care directives, all those end at death. Well, a living will is not a living will if you're dead. Makes sense, right? Okay. But do all those things, you've got to meet with a qualified attorney. If you want to give us a call here at Mach 1, we have attorneys that we use every single day, the ones that we use personally, and they've taken great care of our clients. Okay? And we hear a lot of people saying, hey, I got my stuff in the safety deposit box. Well, did you know if you pass away and your heirs aren't on the safety deposit box as far as signators, they can't get in it. It takes a court order. So what do? Well, you get a fireproof and waterproof safe to keep in your house. Fireproof makes sense for fires, and waterproof. Well, I only have fireproof, Mike. Well, what happens when there's a fire in your house? What are they going to put on it? They're going to put water on it. So you need a fireproof and waterproof safe, and put all your stuff in there. Then let someone know the combination, your heirs. Okay. Who knows how to get to your information? Like the combination to this fireproof, waterproof safe. What about the passwords and account numbers for your online accounts? You pass away and nobody can get into your online accounts, your Facebook account, or whatever this online social media you have. Don't you want that to cease? Let someone know how to do that. All right. So, what about nursing home? Okay. Long-term care insurance. Well, are you familiar with the 5-year look-back rule? If you're not, you need to talk to someone like us and we can help you walk through that. We don't like straight long-term care insurance because if you never use it, you just paid for nothing. We like a hybrid policy that includes long-term care and life insurance. If you use the long-term care, you don't get the life insurance. But if you never use the long-term care, well, everybody's going to die, so you'll get your money back that way. So that's kind of, we like what we call a hybrid policy for that. When you go to nursing home, you always ask the question, is it a private paid nursing home or is it a Medicaid nursing home? If it's a Medicaid nursing home and they have private pay patients, they have to offer you the exact same care. So know what type of nursing home you're planning to go to. And have you ever visited a facility? We took my dad out of one because it was horrible, and I won't tell you the name of it, but he was with us for a month and he'd gained 20 pounds. That'd tell you how bad that place was. Now, not all of them are bad, but go visit one. See if that's someplace you'd want to be, okay? Or you just want to take care of somebody at home. And are you covered if you do need to do that? That's what we ended up doing. And then at some point, there's enough is enough. And in my dad's case, he'd had a couple of surgeries and the doctor says, look, we can keep doing this, but it's not going to get any better. It's just we're going to do it, give you relief for a while, and you're going to do it again. And I remember vividly getting in the truck, leaving the hospital, and he looks at me and he says, I'm not coming back. And he said, that was it. So we did hospice care at home. You can do in-service hospice care in a facility, but we decided to do it at home, and he was much happier that way. So what are your last wishes? Do you want to be buried or are you going to be cremated? Do you have a burial plot? We want you to pre-select and pre-arrange, but we don't want you to prepay unless you're, 70, 80 or above. And then, time is coming. But if you're in the 40s and 50s, 60s, don't prepay. Pre-arrange and pre-plan, have money set aside, but don't prepay. Okay? Caskets are expensive. Headstones are expensive. Do you know what you want on your headstone? Do you know what the order of service is? My wife and I, we've done this. We've sat down with a funeral home director and we've got it all laid out. Soup to nuts, everything's done. All the kids got to do is show up and pay for it. All right, folks, this is a picture of my dad. I've referenced him several times. This is him in March of 2018. He's sitting back on our back patio enjoying the sunshine. And this is in March. And to show you how quickly life is fleeting, this is him in April. Yes, he was in the Navy. He got a military funeral. And so we were sad to see him go, but he knew his time was coming. And, it was a blessing. He's no longer hurting. So when it comes time for this for you, are you ready? Are you ready financially? Have your family know about it? And are you ready spiritually? And again, if not, you can give us a call here and we can walk you through that as well. But the time is coming. We're all going to be at this point, at some point in the future. Are you ready? All right, here we go. This is it. Class 11, we've got our last summary. None of us are going to live forever. You got to start planning now. Don't wait till tomorrow. Tomorrow might not be here. Set a deadline. Once you set a deadline, we'll have it all done by this date. Stick to it. Put it on the calendar. Says, okay, by this date, it's going to get done, and stick with it. Once you got it done, then tell your family about it. You can do it over the 4th of July, at Thanksgiving, at Christmas, but pick a time and just say, hey, it's not a real happy subject, but you know what? It'll put their minds at ease that mom and dad have things laid out, all done, not expecting to kick off anytime soon, but if so, boom, here's what you do. Okay? Update those plans once a year if you need to, or whenever something changes. Okay? Your family will be so thankful that you've taken the time and the foresight to set all this up. So when they have to come to your funeral, it'd be like my in-laws. It was all done. All we did was show up. It takes all the stress off of a very stressful time. This is it, folks. Last week of Money School. We love your feedback. You can do it right here on Facebook. You can comment on the video or Facebook Messenger. If you're watching on YouTube, you can comment the video, or there's a link below that brings you right to the Mach 1 website. We'd love to hear your feedback. Any questions you have, we'll probably do this again in a year. So anything else you want to hear about in Money School, we would be glad to add it, but you got to let us know. We appreciate you joining us for these 11 sessions. And again, we're always here to help you at Mach 1 Financial, 479-876-2100. Take care.